I want to say something that most people in this space won't say directly. Your supply chain right now at your current revenue is the reason you will not hit your next number. Not your ads, not your team, not your product, not the economy, not the Middle East wars, your supply chain. And I say that not to alarm you. I say it because I've spent 17 years inside supply chains from global enterprise brands to the DTC brands we're buying from right now. And I've watched founders who were doing everything right hit a wall they genuinely did not see coming. They scaled marketing, they built real audiences, they had products that customers love, and then one day the math stopped working. Margins compressed, launches slipped, the product roadmap they built in January looked nothing like reality by September. It was always the supply chain. And here's the part that stinks. By the time you feel it, you've already been losing quietly for 12 to 18 months. I'm Lara, I run New Supply Chain, and this video is the most important 20 minutes you spend on your business today if you're the right person for it. Let me tell you who that is. I'll be direct because your time matters. This video is for DTC founders doing 5 million to 50 million with a core message aimed at brands at 15 million and above. And if you're in between 1 to 5, stay with me. This is your roadmap for what's ahead. But the urgency I'm about to describe belongs to founders who are already at scale and already feeling the friction. At 15 million and above, you are in what I call the growth trap zone. Enough revenue to feel successful, enough complexity to feel stuck, enough at stake that every operational inefficiency is costing you real money, not theoretical money, now money. And this is not for you if you're looking for a shortcut or a tool that fixes everything automatically. You think your supply chain problem is actually a sourcing problem, and you're happy launching 2 to 3 products a year and don't want more. This is for you if you know you should be launching more, faster, and cannot identify what's in the way. Your margins are compressing you, and you cannot fully explain why. Your product roadmap keeps sleeping. The same 3 launches get pushed every quarter. And you've tried to fix this internally, and the problem keeps coming back. You're ready to stop running supply chain like a 5 million startup and start running it like the 30 million business you're building toward. Now, if that's you, let's go. Now, let me paint you a picture. You're doing 15 million, 18 million, 20 million revenue is real. Your marketing team is capable. Your products are good. You know they're good because your retention numbers prove it. But something is off and you feel it every quarter. You plan 6 new SKUs, you launch 3, the other 3 roll into the next year, then the next year you plan 6 again, launch 3, roll the other 3 forward. It's a hamster wheel. Your product line isn't growing the way your brand is. Your margins are tighter than they were at 8 million or 10 million. That shouldn't make sense. You shouldn't have more volume, more leverage, better rates. But there are always rush decisions eating into your gains. Air freight you didn't plan for, last minute production changes, expedited testing because you're already behind. Your supply chain team is permanently reactive, not planning the next launch, managing the fallout from the last one. And your competitors, the one you watch, they're dropping new SKUs while you're still waiting on samples. Refreshing their line while yours stays static. You cannot figure out how they're moving that fast. Now, I'll tell you how. They solved the new product development problem, and they didn't solve it by pushing factories harder. They solved it by changing the architecture of how products get developed. And here's why that architecture looks like, and where most brands at first stage are leaking time and money without realizing it. Your NPD process has 5 friction points. At every one, there are days, sometimes weeks, of waiting date in. Friction point number 1 is the ideation to brief. Most brands spend 2 to 4 weeks just turning a concept into a factory-ready brief. Marketing has an idea, ops doesn't know yet, finance hasn't stress tested the margin, nobody checked if the factory can actually execute the spec. That misalignment costs weeks before a single factory conversation happens. Friction point number 2, the sample shipping loop. Brief goes to factory. Factory makes a sample. Sample ships to the US 10 to 14 days minimum. You review, give feedback, revise, reship another 2 weeks. This happens 3 to 4 times on most products. That's 60 to 80 days just in boxes in the Pacific. Friction point number 3, internal approval chaos. Even when the sample arrives, who approves it? The founder, product team, marketing, everyone has opinions. Nobody has clear authority. The sample sits in someone's office for a week while people debate the hallway. Friction point number 4, consumer validation. Done too late or not at all. Most brands skip structured consumer testing or do it after they've already committed to production. That's when the product lands flat, not terrible, just not right quite. They've burned the launch window, the marketing spend, and the goodwill customers who expected better. Friction point number 5, the production handoff gap. Even after approval, the handoff from golden sample to production brief to factory execution is full of gaps. Detail get lost, substitution get made without sign off, the production arrives and something is slightly off. Now you're deciding whether to accept it or return, and both options have a cost you didn't budget for. Add it up, 4 to 6 months from idea to launch for a product that should take 10 to 12 weeks. This is why you're relaunching 3 instead of 6. And this is why margins compress. This is why the roadmap keeps sleeping. Now, let me show you what the fix looks like. The brands that break through the 15 million ceiling all have something in common that isn't obvious from the outside. It's not ad spend, not influencer strategy, not even product quality. It's launch velocity. They launch more products per year consistently, and not because they have bigger teams or better factories, but because they have a development infrastructure that compresses the friction out of NPE. And the foundation of that infrastructure is something almost nobody in DTC talks about openly. Physical R&D capability, close to where products are being made. Not an email thread with a factory, not a sourcing agent passing messages, an actual capability, a place where samples get made, tested, reviewed, and iterated before a factory ever gets a formal production brief. This does 3 things nothing else can replicate. First, it collapses ideation to brief. When operators who understand both the product and the manufacturing reality work together on the brief from the start, the factory gets a tight spec the first time. No guessing, no interpretation, weeks removed from the front end. Second, it eliminates most of the sample shipping you. When initial development happens in-house, the factory sample isn't the first sample, it's the third or fourth. The office problems are already solved. Instead of 3 to 4 factory samples rounds, you're doing 1 to 2. Weeks gone from the middle of your cycle. Third, it enables real consumer validation before you commit to production. Testing that happens in region with the real users in structured panels gives you launch confidence you cannot get from internal gut checks. And it gives you that confidence fast, not after 3 months of shipping sample back and forth. This is the foundation: human expertise, physical proximity, real iteration in the real world. Now, here's where the technology comes in and where the numbers gets interesting. At Move, we built 2 R&D studios to make this infrastructure accessible to the brands we work with. The first is an apparel sampling studio with physical sampling capability, real source, pattern makers, materials, and real equipment. When an apparel client comes to us with a new product concept, we don't wait for a factory sample. We build it ourselves in days. We iterate in-house. By the time the factory gets a brief, the construction questions are answered. The factory brief is tight. The sample round is short. The approval cycle is compressed. The second is a formulated product R&D setup with access to testing facilities in Singapore and nearby markets, and the ability to run structured consumer panels with the real users in region. The feedback loop that used to take months takes weeks, and the briefs that come out of the process are specific enough that reformulation iterations are cut in half. That is the human foundation. Now, the AI layer. For apparel, we use 3D high-resolution sample rendering, When a sample exists in our studio, instead of shipping it to your team in the US for review, we capture it digitally, photorealistic, rotatable, zoomable. You see the stitching, the drape, the color, the construction on your screen in 24 to 48 hours. Your team reviews it, gives feedback digitally. We revise, pre-render, you review again. But what used to be 4 rounds of physical shipping, 80 plus days just in transit, becomes 4 rounds of digital review, 8 to 10 days total. That's where the 30% lead time reduction comes from. Often it's more. For formulated products, AI-assisted analysis of consumer testing data means that when 80 users try a product in a structured panel, patterns surface in near real time. Specific attributes, specific friction points, specific reformulation opportunities, identified fast and translated directly into a brief of the manufacturer that can act immediately. But here's what makes Move's approach different from a tech vendor. We do not believe in AI supply chain. We believe in human-led AI amplified supply chain. The technology amplifies the solution. It does not replace it. An AI rendering tool cannot tell you if the fabric drape is right for the customer you're targeting. An analysis algorithm cannot read the hesitation in a consumer's panelist's face before they answer. These are the human skills, and they are the skills that determine whether a product lands or struggles. Why AI does brilliantly is remove the waiting, the shipping loops, the synthesis delays. It gives human judgment the speed it always deserves. And together, they produce a development system that is faster, more accurate, and more margin protective than anything you can get by optimizing the process you have today. I want to give you a number. Do this for your own business. If your average new product generates 600K to 1 million in first year revenue, adjust for your reality, then every week a launch is delayed costs you roughly 12K to 20K in revenue timing. Now, look at your last 3 launches. Honestly, how many weeks late were they against original plan? For most brands at 15 million and above, the honest answer is 6 to 12 weeks late per launch. At 8 weeks late across 3 launches, that's 288K to 480K in delayed revenue per year. That's before you count for the margin erosion on rush decisions. Air freight instead of sea freight adds 15 to 25% to your landed cost on a run. Rush minimums you didn't plan for, material substitutions that change your COGS, expedited testing fee because you're already behind. Add the margin erosion and you're looking at somewhere between 400K and 1 million per year for a brand doing 15 million to 25 million. That is the annual cost of running a slow, reactive MPD process at scale. I'm not saying this to make you feel bad. I'm saying it because most founders at your level have never done this calculation explicitly. They feel the friction, they know something's off, but they haven't put a number to it. Now you have the number, and the question becomes, what would you do with half of it back? Now I want to address this directly because I know it's the thing that makes some of you hesitate. You've worked with a supply chain agency or a sourcing partner or agency or an operations consultant before, and it didn't deliver what was promised. You paid fees, we went through onboarding, and 6 months later, the problems were either the same or slightly different versions of themselves. That experience is real and it's more common than most people in this industry will admit. I've seen it in our agency, we've experienced that, and here's what I've observed from the outside and from conversations with founders who come to Move after those experiences and even our negative experiences ourselves where we learn the hard way. Most supply chain agencies are intermediaries. They sit between you and the factory. They manage communication, they track shipments, they coordinate, and coordination has value, but it doesn't fix the system. It just makes a broken system slightly easier to manage. What they almost never do is build. They don't have the physical R&D capability. They don't have in-region consumer testing infrastructure. They don't have an integrated AI layer sitting on top of the human operational foundation. They manage the process you already have. Move is not built that way. We don't sit between you and the factory. We build the development infrastructure that transforms how your product gets from idea to launch ready. The studio, the testing network, the rendering workflow. These are not project management services. These are operational capabilities that didn't exist in your supply chain before and do afterward. That said, I'm not asking you to take my word for it. I'm not asking you to make any commitment based on this video alone. What I'm asking you to do is join the conversation first. Here's where I'm going to be different from every VSL you've ever watched. I'm not going to tell you to book a call right now. I'm not going to put a timer on the screen. I'm not going to tell you this offer expires on Friday. Because if you're the kind of founder that is actually built for, the kind who is serious about scaling their supply chain, who has felt the friction I've been describing, and wants to build an operation that keeps up with their marketing, then we don't need pressure. You need information and trust. So here's what I'd like you to do. Step one, join Unbox Weekly. It's my weekly newsletter where I go deep on DTC supply chain in a way that's actually actionable. Not theoretical, not generic, specific frameworks, real examples, the things I see working inside the brands I'm closest to. The link is in the description. It's free and it takes 30 seconds. Step two, join the Move Slack community. This is where founders and operators at your level and are having real conversations about supply chain. What's working, what's breaking, what they do differently. It's not a pitch channel, it's a working community. Come in, see what people are talking about, ask a question, share what you're dealing with. The link is also in the description. And then after you've seen what we put out over every week, after you've been in the community and seen how we show up, if you want to talk about what Move could do specifically for your brand, the door is open. The discovery call is there when you're ready. No pressure, no deadline, just a real conversation about your supply chain when the time is right. That's it. That's the ask. Before I close this video, I want you to leave you with one question. Not, should I join the newsletter? That's a 30-second decision. The question I want you to sit with is this. How many products did you plan to launch this year and how many will actually make it? If the answer is 100%, all of them on time at the margins you planned, your supply chain is working and you probably don't need this conversation. But if there's a gap, if launches keep slipping, if margins keep compressing, if the version of your business you can picture clearly is somehow always one quarter away, the gap is a supply chain problem. And supply chain problems don't stay still. They compound quietly until one quarter they become undeniable. The brands doing 30 million, 40 million, 50 million solve this, not by hoping things get better, by changing the system. Unbox Weekly, Move Slack, links in the description. Come join your conversation. Let's figure out your supply chain together. I'm Lara. This is Move Supply Chain. See you inside.